to my kitchen. I'm Steve, and on this episode of Cooking with Love, I'm going to be making a Battenberg cake. Now, a Battenberg cake consists of two different colored sponge cakes that are cut up in pieces and assembled to resemble a checkerboard, and then it's covered in a marzipan layer. These are very, very popular in Ireland, and that's where I first experienced them. My wife brought me to a little coffee house, Bewley's in Ireland, which is a traditional coffee house, and they were serving this pastry as part of their selection of pastries. You can find it in all the grocery stores and all the pastry shops in Ireland. Now, the cake itself originated in England in 1884, and it was made to celebrate the marriage of Queen Victoria's granddaughter and Prince Louis of Battenberg, and that's why it's called a Battenberg cake. It's also very popular in England. It's not too hard to put together. It does require a little bit of manipulation of the sponges. You have to cut them and assemble them into a checkerboard pattern. But it only takes a few minutes to do that. It's really quite simple. And we use an apricot jam to glue the pieces back together once they're cut. All right, let's get started. The ingredients we need to make our Battenberg cake is self-rising flour, almond flour, granulated sugar, some eggs, butter. Both the eggs and the butter were left out at room temperature. Some vanilla extract, almond extract, baking powder, some food coloring. We're going to be using red today. Some apricot jam, and some marzipan. Now, the marzipan I showed you in a previous video, the Irish cake video, Christmas cake, how to make marzipan. If you don't want to make your own marzipan, you can just go out to the store and they do sell it in the baking aisle. All right, let's start putting this together. I've set the oven to preheat to 350 degrees. The first step is to cream the butter with the sugar in our stand mixer using the flat blade. We're just going to turn this on. And next we're going to be adding our sugar. About a third at a time. Our butter and sugar are creamed. Next we're going to be adding our eggs. We're going to add one at a time and mixing well in between each egg. The eggs, butter, and sugar are mixed well. Next I'm going to be adding the almond extract and the vanilla extract. Just give it a stir. We're going to be adding in the almond flour and the baking powder. And again, give it a stir. I'm going to be adding our self-rising flour now, and we're going to do this in thirds. So about a third of the flour at first, and then mix in the other two after this is incorporated. You don't want to overbeat this though, so don't use a high speed on the mixer. Make sure you're scraping your bowl down. Our batter is finished. We're going to have to divide our batter into two portions. One portion we're going to color with the red food dye, and the other portion we're going to leave white. I've divided the batter in half now by weight. In this half I'm going to color this half pink. Next, I'm going to prepare our cake tin. And since we're going to be doing two different colored batters at the same time, we need to divide this pan in half. So the first thing I did is I cut up parchment paper to fit the bottom. And then I'm going to take a piece of aluminum foil. It's roughly the size of the tin, and I'm going to fold it in half. And then fold this in half again, leaving a little bit of a lip. You just want to make sure that this is higher than the tin. And then I'm going to open up the bottom, make a flange. And this is going to fit in the center. But in order to make it flat against here, I'm just going to cut a little bit so I can bend it. I'm going to put it flat against the side and push that flange down, and the same thing on this side. We're going to keep it flat. So this aluminum foil is going to act like a dam to separate the two batters. I greased the tin well with cooking spray. Now we're just going to add our batter. And now the other side. And we'll just spread this out. All right, our cake is ready to go into the oven. It's at the oven preheated to 350 degrees. This is going to cook from 35 to 45 minutes. We'll check it in 35. I've just taken the cake out of the oven. We're going to allow it to cool completely before we do the next step. Now that the cake is completely cool, we're going to release it from the pan. And then we have to trim it up. First thing I'm going to do is trim the top so that they're both the same height. And all these trimmings are great to save if you're making a trifle. You can use that for the sponge. Now I'm going to take our apricot jam and microwave it for about a minute so it breaks down, and we're going to use that to connect these two pieces of cake together. I'm going to place a generous amount of the apricot jam. Next, I'm going to flip this cake over on top of it and even it up. And if you need to, you can trim it. You want them to be the same length. I think we're pretty good here. I'm just do a little trimming here. And again, save these trimmings for your trifle. All right, now we're going to slice this cake in the middle. And I'm going to turn this over and apply apricot. And turn it over again, and then adhere them together. And as you can see, hopefully, we've created our checkerboard. Now the next step, we're going to roll out our marzipan, cover the cake in marzipan, and then we'll finish trimming it. Next I'm going to be rolling out our marzipan. Now if your marzipan sticks to your cutting board, you could always use a little bit of powdered sugar to help that. I need to roll this out long enough and wide enough to cover the cake. The marzipan is rolled out. I'm going to cover it now with some of the apricot jam. And next I'm going to transfer the cake to the center. And we're going to fold this up and over, and this up and over, and I'm going to press it together. Now that it's pressed, I'm going to do a final trim. And I'm going to transfer this over to a plate. All right. And that's it. That's the Battenberg cake. You can see it's a little bit of manipulation to get the checkerboard pattern. It's well worth it. You can make this any time of year. During the Christmas season, instead of making it white and pink, which are the classic colors, I'll make it red and green. And it's always a big hit at Christmas. Well, if you're up for a delicious pastry treat, give this cake a try. We'll see you on the next episode.